what is the thing that made you stay in it?
It's great question, man. It's a bit of delusion, I think. I think for every footballer, man, it's why they're different breeds, and we've lived it, we played it, so we had that as well in terms of you're so stubborn, you don't care what anyone says, no matter how much they tell you how crap you are or you're not good enough. There's something in you that goes, no, I'm going to show you. I was obsessed with the 1%, right? So when I was playing in the lower leagues, I knew back to that whole point of how do I stand out? How do I stand out in the conference when I'm trying to get a move? So I have to get whatever 1% I can, whether it's my nutrition, my sleep, uh, energy coach, a psych coach, a striker coach. I'm always looking for these 1% to give me the edge, right?
Hey guys, and welcome on Football Business Television, where the game gets down to business. Today, I'm joined by someone that scored a couple of goals that made me look good back in the days. Someone that I was hardly getting hold of in training because he was too sharp around me. But without further ado, welcome to the Players Lounge to my guy, Mr. Simeon Jackson. How are you doing, Jacko?
I'm good, Seven Man. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's been a long time and seeing you. I heard about you since our Norwich days. So how's life
Yeah.
treating you?
It's okay, man. It's good. Obviously not playing now. Into coaching and really enjoying it. Really enjoying it, Seb. It's a different world completely, completely different. Like I was saying before we got on. That I now appreciate every single coach, manager, assistant that I've ever worked with because of now starting to realize what coaching is and how difficult it can be. But I'm enjoying it, man. I'm good.
You didn't go through the typical and usual pathway for football, and we're gonna talk about it a little bit. When you look back at your career today, do you see it as a straight journey or more of a some sort of a like of a series or unexpected chapters?
Oh yeah, yeah. Unexpected, man. I think I look back now and almost coming full circle of being around kids that are under 16, under 18. I'm involved with the under 21s as well, but my group is the under 16s and 15s, and it's reminding me of what I was like at that age because I was just coming into the country at that age, right? So, I was born in Jamaica, grew up in Canada, and then moved from Canada here at 15, 16. And now I'm seeing these, coaching these boys that are going through so much at this age, with GCSEs and, their body developing and decisions being made in football, whether they're going to get a scholar or not, and just being able to not only try and help them, but then I'm also looking back and be like, my journey with it and how I dealt with that. And yeah, it was not straightforward, So as much as all these kids are, I'm seeing them and I can relate to what they're going through. I'm almost remembering I was coming to a new country on top of that, right? And having to get used to everything, like like yourself. So it's yeah, it wasn't a straightforward journey for sure.
But because your career didn't take the typical pathway, what did those early years for you teach you about, for example, the resilience? Because you came from a different country and now you're working with them kids. But what those early years teach you about resilience, for example? Anything else?
My early years taught me that you just had to work hard. You had to work hard. You had to be hungry. I was coming into England, the country of football, where football's everywhere and the stadiums, the Premier League, and all the hype, and every kid wants to be a footballer. It's like, okay, well, what's going to make me different? How can I stand out? How can I be noticed? So I had to, from really young, because I knew this is what I wanted from when I was 11, 12 years old. So from young, I'm thinking, right, how do I stand out? And then coming to England, having learned all those ways, in the early years of, you have to score, or you have to make sharp runs, or you have to be loud, starting to learn those ways to stand out was a big thing. And obviously, as I said, the hard work piece never can hide from
So
that.
you're talking about how can you stand out, but coming through what you like the different pathway that you came through, did that shape a different mentality within yourself that player maybe that come throughout the normal pathway might not have?
100%, 100%. So I came and I looked at that straight away, and I saw players that had come through the academy from, were there from 8 or 9, whatever. Were told they were the next best thing, and for me, I was like, I'm more hungry than you. I'm prepared to come and do the extra sessions and travel across the world to be here. So I want it more. So for me, yeah, it gave me a different mindset. It was almost like a ruthless mindset of, because I knew everything that I sacrificed, or everything that I'd left, um family and friends and school and all of that to be here. I was prepared to do anything. So my mindset was definitely different.
I remember that reminds me. Remember when I was back in France, and I think when I was at Clairefontaine, biggest academy in the world back in the days of 13, 14. And I think that the best thing that ever happened to me is when they kicked me out. When they kicked me out of this so famous, and I was the biggest player in the whole country, the pain that I felt, honestly, was like my heart was broken. I think I was splitting up with my girlfriend or something like that. I was like, what? First, heartbroken moment in your life.
Yeah, yeah, dude. And this is the thing. I look and I'm thinking, especially with the kids coming up now, it's eh, you don't want to you don't wish that kind of heartbreak or that kind of pain on these kids, but those make you, right? Like, you're speaking about your one there, and for me it was the same. For me it was coming over here and getting told no by 5 clubs, going on trial, Blackburn, Bolton, traveling up and down the country, and just all these clubs looking, going, sorry kid, you're not ready, right? And I'm like, deep down I'm like, yeah, but do you not see how much I'm committed, and I've traveled the world, and I'm here now? And in those moments I'm like, okay, yeah, they were right, I wasn't ready. But that just made me even more, that pain, that hurt, that like trauma, so to speak, it pushes you. It's almost the best thing for you sometimes.
See, now you said, okay, I wasn't ready. But at the time when we were playing, especially when you're going through what we're going through, there's and we kind of program and set to just go. How how have you managed to stay in it? Because you keep tell people can keep telling you no, but you keep thinking that you're ready. How
Hmm.
this kind of moment where people can easily divert and just say, you know what, no, they don't know what they're talking about, and you get sideways, but you stay in it. What is the thing that made you stay in it?
It's great question, man. It's a bit of delusion, I think. I think for every footballer, man, it's why they're different breeds, and we've lived it and played it, so we had that as well, in terms of, you're so stubborn, you don't care what anyone says, no matter how much they tell you how crap you are, or you're not good enough. There's something in you that goes, no, I'm going to show you. Or as well, it's like, no, I want to. For me, the big thing was I wanted to look after my family, right? So I wanted to buy my mom a house. So when it got tough, I used to write my mom's name, and my aunt, my uncle, my mom, and my dad. I wrote the names on my boots, and it was like every time I lace up my boots, and this was what under 16, under 17s.
Reminder.
It just triggered me back reminder like this is why I want to do it. I want to make that money. I want to be at the top level. I want to make them proud. So yeah, it's this kind of stubbornness, delusion, this confidence that I'm gonna prove people wrong. I'm gonna show you how good I am, and this is why the top ones they succeed because they have that in abundance, right? They don't care how many times they get it wrong or fail. They just keep putting themselves out there.
I keep saying to the people I work with, I said I'm not a no person. Every no that I get me closer to my yes. So
Exactly.
that's a mentality things. But then moving forward, Jacko, I think you paid off. And then I want to get to this part of your career. I mean, which I could say arguably maybe the best part, the biggest part, your Norwich time.
Mhm.
When you got to Norwich, you've been through all the leagues. That's why when I'm talking about different pathway, you've earned your badges. You've gone from the lower league to the pinnacle, the Premier League. Question is, scoring a goal that sends Norwich City to the Premier League. Right? Sure, you do remember it better than I do because you scored a one, right?
Yeah.
When you look back at this moment now and at the time, when you look back at this moment, like what does that moment feel like when you're inside of the pitch with every baggage that you just told us about?
Mm. Oh yeah, big, deep question. In the moment, you don't you don't realize the baggage. You're so in those moments. Seb, I was so present in the game, in performing, and what I had to do at the time. You're not really thinking about it. You're just like even for those goals leading up to it, and the years before I got to Norwich with Gillingham at Wembley and stuff. It's like you have to be so present in the moment. You forget about everything else. But then when you look back on it, and then you have that time afterwards, like the celebration moment, or you're traveling at home or you're on the bus, and like it all kind of starts to sink in. And sometimes it takes like a week, 2 weeks before it actually hits you, right? You're like, holy shit. Like, yeah, there's so much that you've been through to get to that point. Um, and yeah, you just get flooded with emotion. You just get overwhelmed because you think back to that little boy that was just kicking the ball around and didn't know where it was going to go, but you had visions of it. And then to know that you've literally, walked the walk and been through the path to do it. Yeah, yeah, man, you lost for words with it. It's fulfillment. It's you feel proud, and then now you're looking at it. You're like, okay, how do I help share that? How do I help another young player who's playing in Canada who wants to go down that path, or a player here at Norwich in the academy? How do you help give them those nuggets and things that can help them? And that's the challenge now that I'm enjoying.
You say when we talk about and people sometimes when they look at player score a goal, it's a split moment. Even the celebration lasts a day or an evening, but we rarely realize the whole process that led us onto that because it's the process that we're going to enjoy because every single day because leading to what you just said about how can you share those nuggets. I always say to people
Mm,
you got to enjoy the process because the celebration is
yes.
gonna go like that. You score the goal, emotion, then you party. The next day you're on to something else. But that's
Yeah.
what led you to that moment. And for me, that's what I want to know. How did you
Yes.
assess your because when you went to the Premier League, you come from a long way to
Yeah.
League One, League Two, Championship.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole nine. How you say it? How was it?
Yeah.
How did this Norwich team got built, and what part were you playing
Yeah.
in it?
Okay. So for me personally, I was obsessed with the 1%, right? So when I was playing in the lower leagues, I knew, back to that whole point of how do I stand out? How do I stand out in the conference when I'm trying to get a move? So I have to get whatever 1% I can, whether it's my nutrition, my sleep, uh, energy coach, a psych coach, a striker coach. I'm always looking for these 1% to give me the edge, right? So, and in early days, it was just right. Okay, I know if I score more goals at the lower leagues, someone's gonna come and see me. Okay, good. Let's take that one. But within that process, that was hard because I had to work on a process of how do I score goals, right? So for me, it was visualizing, kind of isolating myself and just really kind of zoning in and focusing. And then as it, success started to come with that, it's like, okay, now League Two, what's the next 1% I can add? And you just start to get in these habits of the 1%. And then you get to the championship now and you're like, okay, so this is nice. I can look up a little bit, okay, money's around now a little bit. Okay, I'm happy. Okay, but now there's a next level. How do I get there? And then you have to start. It's the whole fake it till you make it thing. I had to put myself in that shoe. Okay, say, what would it be like to be in the Premier League? How do I act like that now? So I need a good team around me. I need to be really militant in my preparation. And you start to, I remember a friend from Canada came to chill with me, Seb, and this was when we were kind of championship, uh or was it the first season of the Premier League? First, I think it was first season Premier League. And he was like, bro, he's like, your routine was just like militant. He's like, your food times, your sleep times, your naps, your yoga, your meditation. He's like, I'm here chilling with you, but I feel like you're just in your own world. And I was like, yeah, this is the life, man. This is how you, if you want to be successful, this is what, I don't know any different now. Like, it's 8 o'clock, all right, bedtime. Like, you guys chill, you can go out, I'm I've got training tomorrow, right? So you build, like you're saying, the process that you build, and the process that, for me, that I used from the lower leagues to get myself to the top. And you need a bit of luck, and you need, people around you that can really help push you, and support you. um but the process for me was always trying to find that one bit where you can stand out, that edge. What are these guys doing different that, I might not be doing, and you just, if it's one thing, you try and pick it up and add it in, and hopefully it takes you to the next level.
When you go through such a journey with almost the same group of lads from to League One, Championship, Premier League, what does he do for a team? How strong a group of individuals becoming together can be, and what is the limit to that now when you do that?
Yeah, big question. So, um the biggest thing, the I would say that the two most successful uh group groups that I've been a part of that have won promotion was, the team spirit was key, right? So it was like, we were doing things off the pitch as much as we were on the pitch. And the spirit that kind of came in, and you would have came into to our Norwich one towards the back end of it, which was like, and obviously being in Norwich helped because it's away from everything, and lads, that you can get together and there's nothing else to do, right? So you're gonna meet up and chill and do stuff, right? So, but the impact that has on the group, and now studying it from like a coaching side, and I was big on, did a lot of studying into the flow state, and looking at the process of flow, and how group flow is almost like the biggest factor, right? And it's so powerful. So when you have a change room or a group of people that say, right, this is our intended outcome, you know. I remember Paul Lambert, first day of preseason in the championship, and we're all in the meeting room, first day of preseason, away, can't remember where we were, Germany. And he's like, anyone that doesn't think we're gonna get promoted, there's the door. You can leave now. And it was like, oh shoot, like what? And everyone's kind of looking around, quiet, no one says anything. And then he starts to speak. He's like, okay, all right, this is how we're gonna do it. And from day one, you plant that seed of like, right, collectively, we've all agreed to this
That's
now.
He did
So
his genius because unconsciously he he put you in a certain frame mind frame.
I'm
Like
instant.
anyone
Yeah.
who doesn't believe, so you want to be part of it. So unconsciously, you even if you didn't believe,
You're like, okay,
I'm in it.
now I believe, right? And you're like, okay, so what does that mean? What do I need to do? So I need to make sure I'm at the level. And that was one of his biggest things. He was the best manager I played under, I felt, and I felt more I had a lot of success under him because one, he triggered the confidence where you had to be confident to play under him. The players that weren't confident, they got found out, right? You had to back yourself. So you had to be not big time, but you had to, you know, have those balls. You had to, back yourself and your ability. And at the same time, every day you just kept saying, get the standard up, get the standard up, get the standard up. And subconsciously again, that seed of going, even when you have it, some days you have crap training sessions or the lads are on it, but it was just reset, get the standard up, get the standard up. And then the collective, everybody agreeing to this, you don't allow someone to slack off. You don't allow people to turn up, and not be at the level. So that for me, when we're talking about what that looks like in the group, it's that collective mentality of saying, right, we're all on the same page. And the successful dressing rooms and I guess in any walk of life, in terms of leadership and successful organizations, you have some form of that.
When for me, I remember it was a beautiful story. The way you guys were, climbing up the ladder till you got to the Premier League. And when was now when you look back and with a lot more maturity, what was the ceiling when you had this kind of journey and you get to the Prem at some point? Where do you think now? Yeah, yeah, that was our limit
Mhm.
or my limit as a personal or our limit as a team, and things had to change.
Yeah, big question. Yeah, so my personal limit, it was self-inflicted. I think you almost so you're the first season you're like, okay, this is new, this is nice, it's a Premier League. Yeah, you're still on that high standards. We have to keep stretching ourselves. We want to prove that we belong here. So you have the first season syndrome, as they call it, right? It's like you're the new boys, no one's expecting you to get a result at certain places, and you somehow stay up, right? And everyone's gassed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're happy because we stayed up. Second season syndrome's like, no, now everyone is aware of you, so you're not the surprise package anytime now, and the people are setting up for you. They know how you play, they know what your strengths
It's like
are.
a football that you used to play. You guys were used to surprise us. I was like, yeah, where are they?
Yeah, where does this guys come from, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. But then the second season, it's like, no, we know how they're gonna play, so we're just gonna stop him. We're gonna, maybe drop a little deeper, whatever. You start to realize you have to reinvent yourself. And I think for me, that quick turnaround, and I thought that I had enough in terms of, the team around me, and I was eating right, and I was trying to get all my 1%, which is what got me there. But then self-inflicted, you think, oh no, like this is the level, like I can do this. But then you realize, no, no, there's another level, right? And then you start to see players like yourself that have played at the level for longer coming in, um, and you realize there's different ways to play the game. There's different sorts of, I remember, who was it when I can't remember, I heard who had like their own he had their own chef and his own kind of medical team. And and I remember you when you're like, oh yeah, no, I got injured, but I got my guy that I go and see. And I was like, whoa, I don't. Where's my guy? Like, I don't. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Right. So it's like all these little things that you realize, unless you're stretching yourself again and have the right people around you to go, no, no, look, there's another level there, that you need to get to. And I think that was my thing. It was more and because I wasn't playing, and I found that side really tough. So for me, I was like, I need to go somewhere else. I need to leave. I need to go and play, because football has always been the answer for me. I've never made a decision in football out of money as much as, some people thought I went to Germany because I was getting paid more. No, I went because I wanted the experience to play in the Bundesliga, because I felt if I play Bundesliga, I rip it up there, I can come back and so yeah, I think that the not playing and having to deal with that created this kind of ceiling, self-inflicted. And then as a group, you start to realize that, okay, unless the whole collective group, back to that point, is going, right, we need to stretch ourselves again. And because you have new players coming in, and it all starts to change, you now have to re-agree. And if you got one player that comes in and goes, nah, I'm all right, I'm here because I know I need to do, and it changes the whole dynamic, and it can become a struggle. And that's why the good teams can remain at the level, even though, back to the and recruitment as well, like the clubs are now big on, when they're recruiting players, do they fit in with the philosophy of the club and the group and all of that. There's so much to it, right? But yeah, I think you can mine was self-inflicted in terms of not using what I'd learned. I thought I cracked it. I thought, yeah, I've got my team, I've got my thingy. But now looking back, I would have gone heavy again. So I would have gone, no, chef's living in with me, he's making sure my meals are set. I've got this, I've got that, and get maybe loads of different things you could have done.
It's part of the
But yeah, it's all good hindsight looking back on it.
yeah, it's part of the experience. But you were talking about going to Germany, but international career. At the end of the day,
Mm.
you played for Canada, right? Am I right?
Hmm. Yeah,
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 so correct. So what did that mean to you personally? Because there's the club level, but there's another
yeah,
kind of level when you play different meaning when you play international football.
yeah.
Is that was it something that you always had in mind? And what did that mean to you? What did that mean to you?
Oh yeah, it was huge, man. It was huge. You played for your country as well, and for me, it was from a young kid. It's like the first thing you think about. You think about Premier League, and think about playing internationally, right? And that's what you dream about. So, I remember getting the first call. I used to visualize what the call would feel like. So I'd, like, in my head, like, close my eyes, like, oh, my phone rings. It's the coach. He's calling me in for the camp, and you start to, like, picture what it could look like. And this was like 17, 18. And then, so when I got called up for the under 20s the first time, it was just the best feeling ever. But there was a bit of, not controversy, but because I was born in Jamaica and grew up in Canada, it's like, oh, I could play for Jamaica. I could play for Canada. I've got an English passport. My mom was born here. So I was like, oh, do you wait out and hold out for England, or? And I always said, whoever calls me the first, I'm playing for. That was just my thing. I was like, who the first one that calls me is who I'm going to play for. And Canada called me at U20s, and I remember the first time putting on the shirt in Canada. We went to the under 20 World Cup. That was my first big tournament, and playing against the best kids in the world at the time, and you're just like, it just felt so right, and just being around the boys that you grew up playing with and against, and you build this brotherhood, man. I bet you had this as well. It's like you still have those relationships now with the players you played with, not just club level but international level. There's just a different kind of connection that you have, right? And yeah, at the time for me is a little bit different because Canada wasn't seen as a big football nation, and we would go away on international duty, and the lads were laughing because we played St. Kitts and we beat them 6-0 or something, or whoever we played for qualifying, and they would see it as like, oh, it's only Canada. But now the way how Canada's progressed, and now qualified for I did so well in the last World Cup, and now co-hosting, um, it just makes it feel all more special. But just putting on the shirt and playing in front of the home fans and your family, and doing it so many times, you end up looking back, you're just so
I
proud.
see. Canada, because I got some friends that play for Canada or that have played in the league in the
Mm.
league in America, but Canada is part of it.
Yeah.
To see the growth from North America football, North American football compared to when you were in it. How do you assess this growth? Because now Canada is a serious team. Like they you don't take them for granted, you don't take them lightly when they come. So how do you assess, the growth in this football? This football and the business of this, and because this big
it,
over there.
it, it's just mammoth. It's like I don't think it's yeah, it's hard to compare it or to explain it because there was so much we felt so much pressure, Seb, about wanting to make get Canada on this stage, to be recognized, to be respected. And for us there was a big challenge because the women's team were so successful at the time when we were trying to qualify. And seeing how it's grown in the country. And it's weird as well because it was like almost there. It was just like in the pockets in the community. Like I say it all the time, like we grew up playing against you have so many cultures and nationalities within Canada. Like we grew up playing against, the Spanish uh, technical side of players. You had Italian discipline teams and structures where you'd play against teams that are so defensive. So you had this this environment with so many different types of players in one environment, right? So we always knew there was something there, but now to see how it's uh, got to the top end in the national team and the type of players that we've produced now, that are playing for some of the biggest clubs, in the world, like, and doing really well. And to know that, they're representing Canada, it's yeah, it's just you can't measure it. So you can't measure it. And over the time period for me, I look at it over the last 10 years, from playing in it and now watching in it, you're just like, wow, it's just been a huge, huge, huge leap. And you just want to see more of it and more of it.
You being now in the role of a coach, you're more, I would say, around the business of the game, business of football. You being from Canada as well, because the business in kind of Canada and America is a bit different. At some point, when did you understand about the business of football, and what lesson football translate directly into business and leadership role for you, according to you?
Ooh, Ooh, so many layers to that question, man. You're good at this. So, so the business side, I was clued up to the business side quite early in my career, just from how your interactions with your agent and the deals, and you started to realize, hold on a minute here, like I'm a player, but I'm part of a transaction here. Like, when I finish, it's just going to be the next player, and how um football is a business. You are just in it for a short period of time, and you know there's so many different things you can learn from that. And I felt, I learned a lot about, for example, a team having a budget and what players fit in that budget, and kind of how their salaries are, reflective on how they're valued and what, like, there's so many different things where you're just like, as a player, you're not really thinking about that, but as you go through it, you're like, oh, like I can see maybe why that decision was made or why that player left, or so that's one side of it. For me, it's amazing to now realize that a lot of the things that we've learned from being in a dressing room, these things are translatable in other organizations, in corporate world, so to speak. They're looking for, I think there was a program recently I saw with JP Morgan are looking for like ex players and ex army force members who, because of that discipline and the mindset, the resilience, all the things that we did every day and took for granted almost. Like, these are highly valued skills in the business world, right? So you're just like, whoa, like, and that's been so refreshing to know that, you know, uh, my journey of playing for 16 clubs and going into environments, new groups, new environments, having to adapt, having to uh, suss out an environment. Okay, who's who? Who's almost out the door? Who's playing? Who's not playing? Who do I need to link up with more because I'm a striker and I need you to help me score goals? Like, how do you form relationships quick? Like, all these things are tangible skills that are used in the business world, and that for me was eye opening because I you just see it as football, you don't know any difference. So and it's nice, when you go on these courses and you start to study coaching and different things, you start to realize, now I was doing that every day for how many years. So yeah, I can now start to take those skills and try and relate them.
Now, find kind of a final question. The man that you are now, father, the dad, whatever you are, when you look, well, okay, in a couple of years, when all the club, the fans of the club that you went through, especially Norwich, I'd say, how would you want to be remembered? Would you hope that they remember the goals that you scored, the journey that you had, or the person that you are?
Yeah, I think it's you want them to remember how you made them feel, right? Um, I think the biggest thing that I have now, and I try and bring in any environment that I go into, is I want people to feel warm around me. I want people to feel supported, and I think from a football standpoint, you just hope that the fans remember those moments, which is amazing now because I still get it. Sometimes around Norwich, it's like, oh, I remember when, and they'll tell you about where they were, who they were with, and just the whole feeling around it. And for me, that was something I wish I valued more when I was playing, is realizing how much joy you can bring to fans and people from playing well, from scoring. Like this is why they people go every week. It's that feeling that they get. So I wish I knew or thought about that a lot more when I was playing, and not so like, ruthless, we need to win 3 points. Like, no, you're there, you're bringing people joy. You're bringing people these emotions. So yeah, I'd like people to remember how they felt, in those moments. And yeah, if they're around me, and I've tried to help them in some way with that warm and supportive feeling.
And that's the legacy you're gonna leave behind you, especially in Norwich. Jaco, thank you very much for spending time with us a little bit and sharing all the insight, because at the end of the day, it's valuable inside. I can hear, and people, I'm sure people will be able to hear that it comes from a very healthy place, and now you have time to look back, reflect, and that's what we want on the football business television on the Players Lounge. So thank you very much, brother. Simeon Jackson with
Cheers.
us, aka Jacko. So that was you. And guys, for those of you watching, I hope you're gonna like it. And in the meantime, take care of yourself. And I'll see you soon on Football Business Television, FBT, where the game gets down to business. In the meantime, take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon, guys. Bye bye.